Episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real relevant and relatable content on today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. So glad to have you all here in your virtual seats already. I can see you coming in, and let us know where you're visiting in from as you pop into the virtual studio audience. Hello, Dr. Colin over there. How are you today?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I want people to get a chance to hear from you for a brief moment to find out what they're going to hear on today's broadcast from you, just in a nutshell. So tell us right quick what we can expect to hear from you.
Right quick, we're going to talk about today the 5 pillars of communication, because how we communicate does matter.
How we communicate does matter, and he's our marriage expert, so he's going to be telling us, and so that's why you go ahead and tag your friends and let everybody know that we're going to be talking about the 5 pillars of communication with Dr. Colin Clarke. But Venitra, tell us over there how you're doing and what we can expect today from you.
I am doing wonderful on this great Friday, and I am going to be talking about caring for a loved one, specifically a parent with dementia.
Oh, yeah. And anybody that's watching today, or you have friends and family that talk about their experiences with caring for their parent, please drop those comments in and let us know what are you struggling with in that area. We'd love to be able to have someone answer some of your genuine questions that maybe everybody else can't relate to. So please put those in the comment section. And then we have Brandi Hudson over here. How are you, Brandi?
I'm doing excellent this morning. How about yourself?
Doing great. Now, you're our happy expert. That's what I call you, a happy expert. You make me feel happy when I encounter you. So talk to us for a moment about what you're going to be discussing.
Yeah, I'm Brandi Hudson. I'm a motivational speaker and happiness coach, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about how you can actually co-create the life that you're looking for with this intentional focus around happiness.
Out the park, right? So I cannot wait. Whenever we're intentional about anything, guess what? It happens. It starts to actually become the reality. And so I cannot wait to hear what your tips are today, Brandi. All right, let us also check and see in the virtual studio audience. And we're going to be popping your comments up as they come in, and we'll be acknowledging you and your presence as well. So super happy to be here. Super happy also for you, Mackenzie, backstage. I know you had a big win this week, in my opinion, that God just worked a miracle for you and your family with your child. So I'm so honored that everything worked out and very grateful without putting too much information out there. So all of us know, right? So we're very, very grateful to God for what he did for your family. All right. So as we get started here, we're going to take a commercial break first and recognize. Let me recognize our episode sponsor. I like to make sure you know what's happening here. Dr. Jody Bear is one of our sponsors. She has a conference coming up in the Boca Raton area of Florida. So if you are in the Florida area, definitely know that you can go to drjod.com and make sure you get your ticket for this all-inclusive. It's a great conference where you're going to be doing yoga and meditation and learning more about health in this healthopedia. It's a healthopedia, almost like a encyclopedia with 42 authors that are contributing to this particular project. And one of the authors happens to be my son, Ivan Jacobs, which it pushed him way out of his comfort zone. But my son, Ivan Jacobs, who lost about 100 pounds on his own weight loss journey. I'll show you that too. And he went on a personal weight loss journey. He battles and kicks cystic fibrosis in the head. And he actually right now is raising funds for Boomer Esiason Foundation as one of their ambassadors. And what he is doing, I'll talk to you more about that, but he's raising funds to help find a cure for cystic fibrosis. And I'll tell you about that. But today's episode is sponsored by drjod.com/healthopedia-Florida-event. If you want to know more, you can call 800-820-0584. Again, 800-820-0584, and let her know that Kim Jacobs sent you her way. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back, and we're going to hear from our first expert, which is going to be, actually, I see you backstage, Coach Jim Foster. I'm going to pull you in. How are you today?
I am fantastic, and all day in this wonderful world.
Very glad to have you. Actually, I had you down as first. So what I'm going to do is let you get situated. I'm going to let Venitra go first, and then I'll come back to you, Coach Jim, with some business tips. But if you could, before we go to commercial break, can you let people know what they can expect to hear from you briefly?
Oh, yes. I'm going to talk about the why behind having a business plan when you get started with your business. And I'm going to break it down to the basics, some basic things that you just really have to do just for the ordinary individual who wants to get started.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to start with you. Venitra, if you don't mind, I'm going to start back with him because he's already prepared.
Okay? Oh, absolutely. I'm ready.
Oh, okay. You're ready.
He's ready.
All right. We'll take this commercial break and we'll be right back, everyone, right after this break.
Why learn about health when you can experience it? Experience it in beautiful Florida in February 2024. Join us for 3 days of integrative and intensive health and healing education and empowerment with the expertise of the following Healthopedia author, speaker, and facilitators. The world-renowned homeopath and acupuncture physician, Dr. James Marinakis, 4-decade health coach and holistic nutritionist, Dr. Joe D. Bear, and others such as Kimberly Meredith, Dame Doria Cordova, Rex Sykes, Dr. Gary Sanchez, Jamie Kerr, Serena Brown-Travis, and more. Experience daily morning walking and yoga, interactive participation, panel discussions, and more for your own epiphany of health. Get your tickets now.
All right, everyone, we're back. We are talking with our Freestyle Friday expert who's here to help you bring balance to your own household, one household at a time. So hopefully by you all being here, you're going to glean some great information. Coach Jim, we'll also need to know where people can reach you so that we'll know how they can stay connected with you. So make sure you mention that in your conversation. All right, we're going to go with you. Get you started right here first. All right, Coach Jim.
Absolutely. And Kim, I must say that, as always, it is a pleasure to be on your show. It is a pleasure to connect with you. And thank you for having me and giving me your platform to share some of this information that I have. Where do I begin? I'm retired. I retired from the insurance industry. I always like to tell my story of how I landed in this country with $50 in my pocket, having to start life all over again. And in the interim, in the process, I went ahead and built an insurance company that I eventually sold and retired, expecting to ride off into the sunset to a life of ease and luxury. But then guess what? Life happened. I lost everything in the recession. So I had to start all over again. But out of that came the blessing, because it paved the way for what I'm doing now in helping individuals who are getting started in their business. You see, as in my insurance practice, I had outstanding craftsmen, designers. These are people who were excellent at their craft. But I realized when they came to me that they were missing a vital link. They did not have a business plan that was written, that could do the things that a business plan is supposed to do. So essentially, they were flying off the seat of their pants. And so I made it my commitment that I would work with individuals who want to start businesses and who have already started and have struggled, but to get them back on track. And it actually begins with the first thing is knowing their why. Why are they going in? And I incorporate principles. And what I'm going to talk about basically is just down to earth for the average person, for the average guy. And it begins with having why they want to have a business plan. As the old Chinese proverb says, the palest ink is better than the strongest memory. See, folks were coming, and when I asked them, do you have a plan? Well, let me see your plan. They say, yeah, I have one. Well, let me see it. Well, it's in my head. That's not good enough. It has to be written. So that was the first sign of challenges. So in getting started in business, first of all, you have to establish your why. Why are you going in business? What is your motivation? Your why is what is going to fuel you for the journey and to face the challenges that you're going to face. Now, in one of the reasons that I found why most people want to start a business and they never get started is because they're not clear. They're not clear about what they want to do or how they're going to do it. They really don't know how to get started. So the fundamental is having a business plan. You see, when you have a business plan, it provides the clarity that you need because you have to think it through each piece. And the business plan has approximately 7 to 9 components, but I'm just going to focus on address the issue on about 4 of these that are most critical. The first part of it is the fact that it create because it creates a clear path for your business journey, then taking time to ferret out all the things that you have to do in your business. It gives you that clarity so you can move forward. So in mapping it out, you want to look at what it is that you want to accomplish. You want to be able to identify who is your target audience. Who are you going to sell to? Who are your customers? And how do you find them? The basic goal of this is when your ideal customer sees your product or your service, they are going to say, yes, that's what I want. And that's how you end up having the sales and the success in the business. So having that clarity, first of all, identifying your audience, your your product, who you're going to sell to. The next thing is to be very clear about your product. And that clarity of your product comes out of the business plan by thinking it through and addressing all of these different elements that you will incorporate in your product or your service. So, for example, if in identifying your product or your service, it's important that it is in alignment with your why. It is important to be in alignment with what I call your expert genius. Your expert genius is the thing that you are good at. Not only are you passionate about it, but it is in the area of your expertise, your years of experience and practice that brings it together with your passion, and it provides the driving force for you to go forward. And of course, in creating the business plan, it takes these things into consideration. It helps you to establish your price point, for example. Yeah, your financial management, which is another part of it, allows you to make determinations on how to set goals, setting targets, and with having the right pricing that you arrive at by virtue of the research that you do, then you're able to come up with a price and exactly what you need to do on a daily basis to achieve the targets that you have set for yourself. So these components, when you bring them together, creates a plan that actually serves your purpose. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention another very important aspect of the business plan, which is to help in your decision making. When you have a clearly written business plan, you have a path to run on, and many of your decisions are already pre-made. So when you come up on a situation, a challenge, a problem, an obstacle, it helps you to navigate it because you already know where you want to go and you already know some of the things that you're going to be dealing with and you have already pre-planned for it. So it's like having a plan B. You can get around. And as you have all of these things put together, then when challenges come, you can go around them. These are just some of the fundamentals. And in writing the business plan, many people shy away from it because they see it as a big albatross, a big monster. Well, it's not quite as difficult as it is. When you break it down in pieces and parts, then you can actually do it yourself. And if you still feel challenged about it, then you reach out to someone who has the expertise and knowledge that is it to do it for you.
Wow. Those are great tips that you're sharing. And a lot of people, I'm going to mute you for 1 second. There are a lot of people that are watching today that need to know when they first start out and they think that they're doing the why and they're following the steps that they believe will get them to business success. It doesn't always end up that way with the way that you're describing it. So what advice, just one piece of advice that you would say that would really make them kickstart their journey so that it really is able to become a reality for them versus them going through the steps and then they feel like they may not be going through the steps properly or something's happening because there's a breakdown in the process. Any thoughts on that?
A great question, and that is why one of the programs that I created is called the Nuts and Bolts of Starting a Business.
Okay.
And in that program, we take, in fact, I have I've updated it to what I call the 4 P's, the 4 pillars of business. So by implementing this process, you have a step-by-step framework that you follow and you go through, and it covers pretty much everything that you need to be able to go through it.
So from A to Z, the beginning part of it and walking them through the nuts and bolts is going to be perfect. Perfect. Okay, I'm glad to hear this. How do people stay connected with you, Coach Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a website, and it's jimafoster.com.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was trying to find everything over there for you. That's it, jimafoster.com.
Yeah, and of course you have my number there. And what I encourage individuals who are contemplating a business startup, connect with me through my Facebook group, the Home-Based Business Forum, because that is where I put out a lot of content that gives you guidance and direction as to how to get started. And
the Home-Based, what is it?
Home-Based Business Forum.
Forum. Okay, perfect. Okay, we added that as well.
And
so you all.
I was just going to say that I'm all over social media, Instagram, Facebook. I do it Tuesday live training on all the platforms. So when you connect with my Facebook group, it gives you access to gaining notification and when I'm coming on live and always.
Well, thank you, Coach Jim Foster, for being here with us and kicking us off today, even though it was like on the spot. So you did an amazing job. Thank you so much.
If I might just add one thing before I step off.
Absolutely.
I am starting in the next couple of weeks. I'm doing a boot camp It's a 6-week boot camp. And this is where I only take 5 people at a time because I'm able to give them the personalized attention that they need. When you walk out of that boot camp, you are ready to turn the keys on your business regardless of what it is. And
That's good. Okay. And so people can reach out to you to sign up for the five individuals that you'll work with.
yes, I have a link for that. I can share it with you.
Yes, please. You can put it in the private chat and I'll put it right in the comment section for everyone. So you
Okay.
all make sure you take advantage of being one of the 5 students that go through this boot camp with Coach Jim Foster. It will change your business in a great way. All right. Thank you, Coach Jim. Let's see. Go over to you, Venitra. How are you today, Venitra? I'm going to unmute you myself on this end. I heard some feedback on stuff, but I'm so glad to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what do you have for us today?
So my name is Venitra White-Dean. I am a native Charlottean, and I know that's like a unicorn around here. So I have been in Charlotte again all my life, except for a while I was in Columbus, Ohio. But why I'm here, I was the primary caregiver for my mother when she was living with an Alzheimer's diagnosis. And Kim Jacobs, anytime you reach out or anyone reaches out to ask about anything related to caregiving, dementia, I am all on board because I want people to get the information to help with their day-to-day life when it comes to caregiving. And so, backstory, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in February of 2012. And, when we were growing up and we heard Alzheimer's, all we thought about was, well, I'm speaking for myself. All I thought that it was just memory issues, but there's so much more to Alzheimer's, and I'm speaking Alzheimer's. It's a form of dementia, and some people get those. They think they're the same thing. They interchange dementia and Alzheimer's. Dementia is an umbrella term, so there are many forms of dementia, just like cancer. There are many forms of cancer. So just like with dementia, there's Alzheimer's, there's Parkinson, there's Lewy body. All of these are forms of dementia. So my mother had a form of dementia. She had Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. And so we learned quickly during that journey that Alzheimer's is more than just memory issues. And I know we talked about this the last time I was on here, but I'm sure there's some new people on here.
Yeah, we talk about it every time.
Alzheimer's is a chronic illness. There's no cure for it. There are medications out there to slow the symptoms, but there's no cure for Alzheimer's. It is a degenerative brain disease, so it affects your brain. And I know my mother's primary care physician, when she was first diagnosed and he was explaining things to us, he made it crystal clear and made it so easy for us to understand. Your brain is broken. He said, just like if you break your leg or you break your arm, you put a cast on it so people know that you have a broken arm or a broken leg. Well, with Alzheimer's, no one can see inside your brain to see the changes that are going on because you don't have a cast on your head. But there's so many changes going on in the brain that affect your physical, affect your mental, affect your social. So it's a whole lot going on when you're dealing with a parent or a husband or, a sibling that has been diagnosed with a form of dementia. Mm-hmm. And so one of our big things was having to meet my mother where she was. She, as the disease progresses, her needs changed. And as a caregiver, we had to figure out how we were going to accommodate her needs. So it was, as the disease progressed, she's not able to function as independently as she did. But what I will say is, as long as they are able to do anything independently, allow them to continue to be independent. It may take a lot of time. It may take a lot of patience. It may take some crying, but allow them to be independent as long as possible. One of the things that I did, I made sure that I got up earlier so that I could get myself together and have peace of mind and get myself so that when I got her up, that we might take a little longer getting her hair done. We might take a little longer getting teeth brushed. We might take a little longer getting dressed. But, and I tell this, I have so many pictures and videos on my phone of her, and I can look back on those pictures. There's one particular picture that I tell people about. So again, trying to let her be independent as long as possible. And at this time, she was struggling with getting dressed. But I wanted her to still feel independent and still feel in control of things that she felt in control of. So she's getting dressed and I'm like, okay, let's get dressed. Let's get dressed. So I step out and I come back in and she has her sock on her head and she is determined she is going to put that sock on her head. And so I said, well, do you want me to help you? No, I most certainly do not. I was like, okay. So I'll let her continue trying to put the sock on her head. And then I redirected and started talking about something else and just got the sock from her. And as I'm talking to her, I put the sock on and we go on about our day. And you just have to figure out what works for you. And again, as the emotional changes take place, as the physical changes take place, you just have to learn how to accommodate them. A lot of times no, not a lot of times. Most of the times, it's not like they're giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. They can't express themselves the way they used to. They're just as frustrated as you are. So you have to have patience. You have to just stop and breathe. And that's a big thing too. I had to learn how to just stop, breathe, take a few minutes, step back, reassess the situation. And if it's not physically hurting them or physically hurting you or physically hurting anybody else, just let it go. You have to learn what battles to fight and what is not even worth fighting over. Just let it go. Just let it go. And I could go on and on about my personal journey, but the main thing is when you're caring with someone, have that empathy to know that again, they aren't giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. And it took me a while to get to that point. There were times my mother said things to me and did things to me that really hurt me. And I had to realize it wasn't her, it was the disease. So just stepping back, realizing their brain is not functioning the way a normal brain is functioning. And don't take everything personally, don't take it to heart, and laugh. Just like you have to find humor in things in order to survive. I mean, there were plenty of times we were here in survival mode, not knowing what was going on, how we were going to get through the day, but you can look back and laugh at it. And sometimes you just have to laugh in the moment to get through what it is you're going through.
This is really, I mean, you shared so many nuggets and tips and words of wisdom for people to make it a little bit more palatable, if that makes sense, if it's more manageable, because a lot of times when you see situations where people are caring for someone with Alzheimer's, it seems like they're frustrated. They're very frustrated. So I know you've given me a piece of calmness about even this whole scenario and how to deal with it. What the biggest thing for people that are the caregiver is, I know you've already shared lots of tips, but what's a tip for them to be able to make sure that they keep their sanity in the midst of this?
Ask for help.
Ask for help. Okay.
And don't be afraid when people ask you what you need, don't be afraid to tell them exactly what it is you need, because what they think you need might not be what you need.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody, says, hey, what do you need? Can you come by for an hour and just let me get a nap? Or could you come by? I have laundry that has piled up. Could you come by and help me fold up some laundry? Or, hey, could you come by and let me explain to you our day to day? So maybe you could come and sit with mama for 2 hours so I can just get out and go to the grocery store by myself. So don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to let someone bless you and help you. Again, personal experience. I thought I was Superwoman. I thought I could do it all. I didn't think anybody could take care of my mama the way I took care of my mama, until I hit that brick wall and I was depleted, physically, emotionally, spiritually depleted, and had to just reach out and start asking people for help.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good. Very good advice. Ask for the help that you need so you're not on an island by yourself. All right. Here, tell everybody how they can stay connected with you, Venitra.
So our website, and I didn't even talk about, but I started a nonprofit in memory of my mom. She passed away in September of 2020. So I started a nonprofit in memory of her, and our focus is the family caregiver. And it's not just for Alzheimer's caregivers, it's for any caregiver if you're caring for a loved one with a chronic illness. So we provide so many resources for the family caregiver to help with their daily life. And you can look at our website, frankiemayfoundation.com. We're on Instagram at Frankie May Foundation, and we're also on Facebook at Frankie May Foundation.
That is wonderful. You all make sure you check out Frankie May Foundation, because this information and the way they do conferences and events and ways to help the actual caregiver. I do want to make sure that you all get to see her lovely mom, and very glad to have this particular segment piece be in honor of her as well. And she transitioned to this from this earth when?
September 30th of 2020.
Okay. And look at her. Her beautiful spirit lives on through frankiemayfoundation.com, because now her daughter Venitra is taking care of all of the caregivers out here in the world, even some of the virtual programs you can learn about as well. frankiemayfoundation.com. All right.
And Kim, there's such a need out there for caregivers. And I don't want caregivers to feel like they're out there by themselves and they're alone. We started our program services in January of 2022. And at that first monthly meetup, which is our main program service, there were 13 caregivers there in January of 2022. We had our January 2024 meetup last Saturday. We had 98 people at our meetup. So the need is there. The word is getting out there. So caregivers, please don't do this by yourself.
You don't have to do it by yourself. Not when you have Venitra, and even no matter where you are in the country, because this show streams in 100 countries, you can still reach out and get resources regardless of whether you're in the Charlotte or surrounding area.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take a brief commercial break. I do want to encourage you, if any of the episodes of the Kim Jacobs Show has been a blessing to your personal home, and the different guests that we bring on have helped you bring some level of balance or synergy into your house, please make sure you donate to the Kim Jacobs Show. And you can do that through Cash App, $Kimjacobsinc, and PayPal. You can go to paypal.me/KimJacobsInc, or Venmo at the Kim Jacobs Show as well. And screenshot it and donate. And it allows us to continue to provide daily programming to viewers like yourselves and listeners on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of SoundCloud, all of those, Amazon Music. You all are getting this blessing from people like these that are here today. All right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back with Dr. Colin Clarke. Are you ready for this, Dr. Colin? Oh yeah, let me unmute you. Let me see. You ready? You have to unmute yourself over there. I know you've been sitting silently, but we can hear some marriage
Yeah,
advice.
can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me? All right. Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I think you were born ready too over there. You're like, yes, get your notepad. Get your notepad. If you want to know how to have some great marriage advice, we're going to do it right after this commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, we are back, and let's hear from our marriage expert, Dr. Colin Clarke. How long have you been married? First of all, make sure you tell everybody that.
I've been married 41 years. This year is 41 years I've been married to my beautiful wife, and I have no regrets.
Oh, okay, that alone got us. You already melted our hearts, and it's the month of
All right.
love.
I want to talk to you today about the 5 pillars of communication, because effective communication is the cornerstone to any relationship, not just marriage, but is the cornerstone to every relationship. And how we conversate with each other can either make it or break it. So we got to make sure that we're equipped. That's why I encourage folks, especially in marriage, to do seminars and conference and to read and to equip yourself to be good communicators in your relationship. Because if you're not doing that, guess what? Your relationship only goes as strong as your ability to communicate. And if your communication skill is not developed, then you're going to have a problem. That's why the divorce rate is so high, because they tell me that the number one problem that causes divorce is communication. Number one problem that causes and then there are two other things, finance and sex, but the number one thing that causes problems is communication. And I think that even in finance and sex, if you communicate right, you can make it right. If you tell the folk, sit down and talk about your finance with a good communication, you can change that trajectory or change that way. And the same way with intimacy. If you learn how to tell the folks how you want it and what you should do, then you can make it work. Don't give fake feelings. You gotta make sure you're telling the truth. So talk about it. Talk about it. So the 5 pillars of communication. Number 1 is the tone that you use. The tone, because you could be saying the right thing but the wrong tone. The right thing but with the wrong tone. If you're not empathetic with your tone, if you're not saying it with love or being boisterous, then even though you're saying it and you're saying it right, it's a turn off for the person you're talking to, because the tone set the atmosphere for the conversation. And so if I'm not using the right tone, then I'm not communicating effectively. And so your tone is very essential to your communication, because the better you get at the communication and the more active you are in your listening, because a lot of us don't listen very well. I mean, most of us don't listen very well. We have to learn how to listen, because to listen means I'm going to shut up so you can speak. I'm going to shut up so you can make your point. Because a lot of what we do, we start to conjure up the answer.
That's right.
Before we even get the full statement or question. And so when we're finished, we're given the answer that is not even matching up with what the person is going through. Right. And so we are defeating the person. So we got to learn to listen with our ears, listen with our hearts, listen with everything. No phone, no computer, no nothing. Just you and I having a conversation, because you want to have a result that comes out on both of us as a win-win situation. And so the tone has got to be right. The tone has got to be right. If you're not using the right tone, learn how to use the right tone, because your tone can upset the other person, even though you might be saying what they want to hear, but the way you say it can turn them off. So you got to use the right. Then you got to make sure that you're doing time, the right time. Right time. All of these going to be T's. It's going to be tone and the right
Somebody
time.
take some notes out there in the
The
studio
right
audience.
time. Your timing can be a turn off. Your timing can be a turn off. The right timing is when you choose the appropriate time to speak. Because a lot of us, we wait, and somebody just came home from work, open the door, and we start to have a conversation. Don't give them a chance to relax or you never know what the day was, and you just automatically come at them not using the right time. The right time is important, because the right time says, I'm going to wait until they relax. I'm going to wait until I'm not upset, because sometimes we speak out of our anger, out of how upset we are, and then instead of having a dialogue, we have a diatribe or a debate or a screaming. Diatribe is screaming and hollering, and it never fixed the problem. It never fixed anything. So you got to look for the right timing. When I'm in a calm spirit, when the person is relaxed and ready to have the conversation, then we can have the conversation. Because when you do that, that means nobody's stressed out. Nobody is angry. Nobody's is in a place where they're not ready for this kind of a conversation, and so you can have a diatribe or a disconnect when you don't use the right time. So select the right time for your conversation. It's okay to have complaint, because nothing is wrong with having a complaint corner in your relationship, because a complaint corner is good, because you won't be ignoring the elephant in the room. You won't be ignoring the conflict or the problem in the room. So it's good to have a complaint corner, but it's the way that you approach it that makes the difference. So the time, you got to make sure you're doing the right time. And then the third one, you got to set an atmosphere of trust. The person has got to trust you. If I'm sharing with you my feelings or my emotion, I'm sharing with you, because some people look at trust as that you violate the marriage, but trust can also be, I share my deep feelings with you. I share my emotions, and then when we have another problem, you bring it back up and use it as a weapon to beat me up. Then I'm not going to trust you with my inner self. So I've got to use an atmosphere of trusting the person in the marriage. So when I tell you something, I don't want to hear it again, because that means we're having a conversation, we're resolving this thing. So don't ever use your past issue that has been resolved and bring it back in the conversation that you're trying to work out. Address the problem at hand. Don't bring up back the whole thought, because you said you forgive. You said we forget it. You said we resolve it. So don't bring it back up again. So the atmosphere must be a trustworthy atmosphere. I feel comfortable. I feel open and honest. I'm going to be vulnerable with you because I trust you. So it's important that you create an atmosphere of trust where I can be open and honest and share with you, and not knowing that you're going to use it as a tool to beat me up. So you gotta have an atmosphere of trust. And finally, you gotta have not final, sorry, an atmosphere of truth and love. Truth and love. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Don't hide anything, because guess what? Eventually, the person are going to find out, and when they find out, it's going to break the relationship, because they find you're lying to them, and lying is never a good thing in relationship, because when folks find out, then now they don't trust you. So make sure you are telling the truth, and do the truth in love. Do it in love. Always express yourself in love, not in animosity, not in cursing out or negative stuff, but do it the truth in love. Because if you do it in love, then you're going to be an overcomer, and you're going to have a healthy relationship. And finally, I'm giving space for the other person. Finally, you got to have teamwork, because they tell me teamwork make the dream work. If you don't work in team, set goals, every relationship should have vision and mission. Every marriage relationship should have a vision and a mission. If there's no vision and a mission, then you're not going anywhere. And the vision must have dates to it. If I want to buy a home, if I want to buy a car, if I want to do business, whatever it is, I've got to sit down with my partner and set the vision and put an end date to it, and make the vision visible. So every time I walk by, I see what we are planning to do together. And never do it by yourself, but do it together, because you're in the trenches together. You're in collaboration together. You're working together. You're trying to succeed together. My wife used the thing, said, we are an enterprise. And an enterprise, you got the CEO and you got this COO, and they got to have on the same page. Which one of you are the CEO, you got to make that decision. But you got to work on the same page. Teamwork and make your marriage successful. If there's no vision in the marriage, you're going around in circles. You're not making. You live in an apartment for the rest of your life. You never buy a home. You never make any achievement. You never do anything together, because you're not working together to succeed. So teamwork is necessary for the marriage or any relationship, because united you stand, but divided you are going to fall. You cannot be divided and expect to get growth. You cannot be divided and expect success. You cannot be divided and expect that you're going to marry for a long time. You're inviting the enemy to destroy your marriages. So those are the five pillars: the time, the tone, the time, the trust, the truth, and the teamwork. That's me right there.
Okay. I see your wife, Sharon Clarke, out there. She said she typed your comments. And I know the last time you came on the show, y'all were talking about some chandelier stuff. So we'll keep that. We'll keep that back in the day comments. But they do some creative things to keep their marriage fresh. That's what I'll say. And so glad to have you.
You have to. Yeah.
And then tell people how they can stay connected with you.
Well, they can stay connected to me at on Facebook. They also can stay connected to me to 2artsasone.org. And then I want to kind of plug my we have a marriage conference every year, and this year on May 18th, we have a marriage conference. It's called Love Is Not Enough. Love Is Not Enough. So so we have a guest speaker, Apostle Gilbert Coleman, and it's May the 18th from 11 to 4, and we invite you to come. You know, a lot of people spend thousands of dollars for the event, the wedding, but they don't spend any money on the marriage, the progress of the marriage. So I'm inviting you, spend some money on your marriages so it can grow, go, and become stronger.
Okay. And they can get more information about the conference at 2heartsas1.org. 2heartsas1.org. So make sure you all go and be a part of that boot camp, that training that they're going to be offering to help keep your marriage secure. All right, Dr. Colin Clarke and the Shepherd's Heart Ministry on Facebook is how you can stay connected with him as well. All right, let's go over to Brandi. I'm not going to take a commercial break right now. We're going to go to Brandi. You have some kind of glow about you over there. It's a new filter looking thing happening. So what we're going to do is take a moment and go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Brandi, even though the glow is happening all of a sudden, which is a good thing, bringing us into the happy mode. We'll be right back, everyone, right after this break.
Nothing says I love you more than Final Expense Insurance Whole Life Protection. with funeral advocacy nationwide, saving you and your family 30 to 80% off funerals and cremations. Nothing says I love you more than Get Insured Solutions, LLC. GetInsured.Solutions, 704-499-3616.
All right, everyone, we are back and we are talking with our Freestyle Friday experts. And if you have any questions for any of our experts, please feel free to put them in the comment section. And also, if you had a topic you really wanted to discuss this day, let us know that as well. Okay, so we're going to go over to you, Brandi. How are you today?
Amazing. Hi, friends. I realized that I got on the call and it was dark outside, so I set my room for that. But because it's 8 a.m. on the west side, the sun has opened up and now the lighting looks different. So that was the.
But it's all good.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim. It's an honor to share the stage with Venitra and Dr. Colin, as well as Coach Jim. I am a happiness coach, a motivational speaker. And today I wanted to talk about happiness from the perspective of our community. Oftentimes we aren't raised to believe that happiness is our birthright, but it is. And more importantly, when you think about happiness in terms of success and achievement, it is actually the number one factor that can shift your overall success in life. And so we so often put all of our energy into kind of relationships, and we put all of our energy into what job we're going to have, what entrepreneurial endeavor we're going to take. And towards the end of our life, we really for sure focus on our health. And what we know is that foundational to all of that is actually this intentionality around the amount of happiness we feel. And today I wanted to talk about it from the perspective of kind of this arc of life. This is the 1-year anniversary of the loss of a dear friend of mine. She was 38 years old when she passed away a year ago today. And she lived this bright, beautiful life and left such an impact on so many humans. But I wanted to talk about how the average person transitions from this world. They have 5 regrets. And there was a book written by Brandi Ware, and she was a palliative care nurse. And so she focused on what people really thought about in those last 12 weeks of their life. And there are 5 things. I think they actually all are the underpinnings of happiness. But the first one is around people wanting to be more authentic, right? And authenticity for sure contributes to our overall happiness. If we're always putting on a mask and feeling like we have to show up as someone else or show up in a way that is aligned to what other people are seeking, that begins to wear on us, right? So authenticity. The second thing is that they wish they had expressed their feelings more freely, right? And so we know for sure if we're holding on to our feelings and holding in kind of our thoughts and they're bubbling over, then we're not going to be able to be as joyful as versus if we actually move through our feelings and process them, right? So many of us have feelings that we've held on to for decades, and they're not in service to our greater good, right? And then increased connection with our friends is another thing that people oftentimes share as a regret when they're dying. And the last one, which I think is why I'm here today, is this idea of they wish that they were happier and they wish that they realized that happiness is a choice. And so what we aren't taught, right, in our society, we're in the early days of Black History Month. I think as Black people, we really want for our children to do better than we have, right? When I was a little girl, my parents were very focused on my education and they were very focused on on, how I showed up in the world, and did I have proper etiquette, and all of these things that have been in service to my greater good. But as an adult, I realized, right, like I had checked every box. I had gone to two of the best schools in the country. I had literally made millions of dollars personally. I had, I was married to an amazing guy. I lived in an amazing neighborhood in this beautiful home, have an amazing child, and something still was missing. I was still searching. I was still thinking that the next success was going to be the thing that really made me happy. And that when I got there, wherever there was, because there was always this moving target, we find ourselves on this, virtual hamster wheel or treadmill, whatever you want to call it. And so then I stepped back and I just looked inward and said, foundational to me, I just have to focus on happiness, and do that in a way where I now teach my son that the most important thing that he will do in this lifetime is also to be happy. And the unintended consequence of that is that success and achievement come to you much more easily, right? Like life just flows to you. And I tell people to think about happiness. You have to think of yourself as the point of attraction, the central point of attraction for all that comes into your life. And think about happiness from the perspective of, don't you prefer to be around happy people? Everyone does, right?
Yeah.
So we all have this preference to be surrounded with happy people. And when people's energy is dense or negative, that's oftentimes repelling to us. And so everything that you're seeking, whether it's job, health, wealth, or a relationship, all of those things flow to humans who are kind of in this more centered, more elevated emotions. And so I know now through this work and a process that I won't have time to walk us through today, but a process that I've developed, a very specific methodology, that when we increase our happiness set point, not to say that we move away from these other emotions, because we'll have the whole range of emotions, but when we increase our happiness set point and spend most of our time in those high emotions of joy, happiness, and love, we're going to radically shift our life and how we experience life. Instead of feeling like we're going through the world with worry, angst, anger, shame, and then we get these uphill excitable moments where we get a new job or we get a new car, or we find a new boyfriend or husband, and then we go right back down, and we're kind of searching for the next thing. We spend a lifetime kind of in this really beautiful place. And so I won't be able to walk you through all the things you can do to increase your overall happiness set point, but I'd love to connect with you guys further. You can find me on Instagram at Brandi B. Hudson. You can find me, and it's Brandi with an I. I do a course that launches on the first Monday of every month. That's brandimechele.com/the joy blueprint. And it really takes you through kind of 30 days of intense focus on happiness, how it shows up for you, what's precluding it for you. And it also gives you many exercises that's going to help your overall happiness set point. And when my students go through this work, they really do feel like it's revolutionary for them. And it's a perspective that they just hadn't been taught and hadn't ever thought about. It's very empowering. So also feel free to always reach out to me at hello@highbrandi.com.
Wow. Brandi, I feel, like I say, I feel happier. And I don't know if it's just because that's your specialty. And I do believe that happiness and balance and life choices are choices. So every day we can choose to embrace how we're going to have that command that day on how we're personally going to react to different things. Now, I know we don't get a chance to dictate what happens to us per se, but it's how we react to the situations. And I learned a lot of that through Keith Harrell's teachings, Attitude is Everything. So with you being here today, I feel like it's just a blessing to have the tips and the advice that you give. Before we go off with you, please share like a closing comment that you would like for everyone to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'll just reiterate that happiness really is your birthright. And I do fundamentally know that you can shift the experiences that come into your life by shifting your perspective, right? Because we are the central point of attraction. And when you realize that you have the power to create the life that you're looking for, to create all your experiences, you will start to really embrace that power and realize that God has given us intuition to lead us on this path. And it's only when we're not following that intuition that we start to have more trickier experiences, because we think we know better. But God will lead you absolutely on a path that has far fewer hiccups than if you're just charting your own course. And the more you can clear and be in a happy space, the more you can hear the voice of God and really be aligned with the life that is meant for you.
Excellent. And Angela Hope says, happiness is the new rich. It has always been that. And she said, getting there is a moving target. So that's some of the comments that came in too. Let me go over to you, Venitra, and share a closing comment, if you don't mind. You have to unmute yourself.
I realized I was talking and I was muted. So family caregivers, please do not do this alone. You don't have to. There's a community out there that is willing to help you through this day-to-day journey. So please reach out and get connected and get social and be socialized with other family caregivers.
Okay. Thank you for that wonderful comment. And people have been told how to stay connected with you. Dr. Colin, say a closing comment, if you don't mind.
There's a book that John Maxwell Wright called Live with Intentionality. And living with intentional means that you're not only looking for success, but you're looking for significance. And significance means it's not about me, but it's about the other person. So in the 5 T's, be intentional about it. Be intentional to make the right tone, the right time, the trust, the truth, and be a team player, because that is you working on your marriage for success.
Great advice and tips. Wow. Great closing comment. Coach Jim Foster, please share a closing comment.
Absolutely. I'll share one of my favorite. And it was enunciated by W. Clement Stone, founder of Combined Insurance Company. Success is achieved and maintained by those who try and keep trying with PMA, a positive mental attitude.
Wow. You guys, thank you all. You have been just tremendous Freestyle Friday experts, and I'm really grateful for all of the knowledge that you've shared here today. I encourage you all to stay connected with each and every one of them. I see people saying lots of comments, and thank you so much for your input. I do want to make sure you know that my son that I put up earlier, he is in the process of raising, he's an ambassador with the Boomer Esiason Foundation. Many of you know Boomer Esiason from ESPN, but he has a foundation that honors his son, Gunnar Esiason, who actually fights cystic fibrosis as well, this lung disease that 3 of my children live with, and they battle and they beat it in the head. They've helped raise $2.2 million for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, but he's been charged to help raise $4,000 for his representation with Boomer Esiason Foundation. The link is here in the comment section. Please make sure you all contribute. It'll go directly to Boomer Esiason Foundation on behalf of one of my 3 children that battle this disease, cystic fibrosis. All right, everybody. I hope, let's see, lots of comments. I've been flooding them. We're going to go ahead and disconnect. I hope you had a wonderful week. We will see you next week on the Kim Jacobs Show, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody. You can take it away, Mackenzie. This is awesome. Oh, Mackenzie, let me go and close the show out here because she has to do something with her child. Have a great one. See you backstage. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you and make it a great